The grand chamber stretched across half a mile of gleaming metal and crystal. Representatives from 47 different species sat in curved rows that formed a perfect circle. At the center of the massive room, a holographic display showed a small blue planet spinning slowly in the darkness of space. The Vrelnathi ambassador stood on the speaking platform. His four arms gestured at the rotating image of Earth. His translated voice echoed through the chamber, clear and confident. Honored members of the Galactic Council, we have completed our survey of the system you see before you. The third planet, which the natives call Earth, is classified as a Class 12 death world. This is one of the highest danger ratings we have ever recorded. Murmurs spread through the assembled aliens. A Class 12 death world was nearly unheard of. Most species evolved on Class 3 or Class 4 worlds at most. The Vrelnathi continued his presentation. The planet's gravity is crushing by galactic standards. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, which is highly corrosive and supports frequent fires. The weather systems are violent and unpredictable. Storms with winds exceeding 200 miles per hour are common. The oceans are deep and filled with massive predators. The land masses host carnivorous animals in nearly every ecosystem. Another hologram appeared, showing various Earth creatures: a great white shark, a saltwater crocodile, a polar bear. The assembled representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. But this is not the most interesting part, the Vrelnathi said. Despite these impossible conditions, intelligent life has emerged. The dominant species calls themselves humans. They have not only survived but have spread across every environment on their planet. They live in frozen wastelands where temperatures drop to -50 degrees. They live in deserts where water is almost non-existent. They live on the edges of active volcanoes. The hologram changed to show images of human cities, human faces, human technology. The representatives leaned forward. Studying the aliens from Earth, they have primitive technology, the Vrelnathi explained. They have reached their own moon but possess no faster than light travel. They have nuclear weapons but no plasma cannons. They have satellites but no deflector shields. By our standards, they are barely past the industrial age. The Krill ambassador rose from his seat. His species was tall and covered in dark scales. The Krill Empire was the military backbone of the Galactic Council. When they spoke, others listened. Then why are we discussing them? The Krill ambassador asked. A primitive species on a dangerous world. Let them be. The Vrelnathi ambassador's expression was difficult to read, but his next words were measured. Because their planet is rich in resources, rare minerals, water, organic compounds, and because a species that survives on a Class 12 death world might be dangerous if left to develop advanced technology, this caused more discussion among the representatives. The chamber filled with the sounds of dozens of different languages being translated simultaneously. The Krill ambassador spoke again. We have the military strength to pacify the planet quickly. A show of force. The humans surrender. We integrate them into galactic society and access their resources. Simple and efficient. You are proposing conquest? Asked a representative from the Thalen species, a peaceful race of scholars. I am proposing practical action, the Krill responded. Look at their military capability. Primitive missiles. Chemical propulsion. No energy weapons. My fleet could neutralize their defenses in days. The debate continued for hours. Some species argued for peaceful first contact. Others worried about interfering with a developing civilization. But the Krill ambassador was persuasive. He painted a picture of a quick, clean military operation. Minimal casualties, maximum benefit. Finally, the vote was called. The holographic display at the center of the chamber showed the results in real time. Each species cast their vote. Green for peaceful contact. Red for military action. Blue for no contact at all. The final tally appeared. 32 votes for military action. 15 for peaceful contact. 0 for no contact. The decision was made. The Krill Empire was authorized to pacify and integrate the human homeworld. Far across the galaxy, on the small blue planet that had just been condemned, humans lived their normal lives. They went to work. They raised families. They argued about politics and watched sports and fell in love and dreamed about the future. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Valiant, watching the sunset over the Pacific Ocean. His carrier group was returning from routine exercises. The sea was calm. The sky was clear. It was a beautiful evening. "Sir, we are receiving a priority transmission from Pacific Command," his communications officer said. Jake turned from the window. "Put it through." The message was brief and confusing. All military forces were to go to maximum alert. All leave was canceled. All personnel were to report to their duty stations immediately. No explanation was given. Jake looked at his executive officer. "What do you think this is about?" The officer shrugged. "Maybe another drill? Some kind of readiness test?" On Mars, Dr. Emma Rodriguez was examining soil samples in the research station laboratory. The red planet's surface stretched out beyond the reinforced windows. She loved working here, far from Earth's crowds and noise. The research was fascinating. The isolation was peaceful. Her computer chimed with an incoming message. It was flagged urgent from Earth Command. She opened it and read quickly. Her face went pale. "Everyone, stop what you are doing," she called out to her research team. "We need to go to the command center. Now." In the asteroid belt, Ben Taylor guided his mining ship toward a promising rock. His crew had been working for 6 months straight, and they were close to filling their cargo hold. One more good asteroid and they could head home. His communications panel lit up. A general broadcast from Earth. He switched it on. The voice was calm but serious. "This is Earth Defense Command, broadcasting on all frequencies. Unknown vessels have been detected at the edge of our solar system. Multiple contacts. Very large. All civilian craft are advised to return to the nearest safe harbor. All military personnel report for duty. This is not a drill. Repeat. This is not a drill." Ben looked at his crew. They stared back at him in silence. "Unknown vessels?" his co-pilot finally said. "What does that mean?" Ben turned back to his controls. "It means we are not alone anymore." The Krill fleet of 300 warships emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. Admiral Zekthor stood on the bridge of his flagship. Looking at the tactical display, the third planet glowed blue and green on his screens. "Scan the system," he ordered. "I want full tactical data. Ship positions, defensive installations, military capability." His officers worked quickly. After a few minutes, the tactical officer reported, "Sir, we detect approximately 2,000 artificial satellites around the planet. Primitive chemical rockets. No energy weapons detected. No deflector shields. A few dozen ships in orbit, all using chemical or early fusion propulsion." Admiral Zekthor smiled. This would be even easier than he thought. "Open a channel," he commanded. "Broadcast on all frequencies in their primitive languages." The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, sir." Zekthor's message was simple and direct. "Humans of Earth, I am Admiral Zekthor of the Krill Empire, acting under the authority of the Galactic Council. Your world has been selected for integration into galactic society. You will surrender all military forces and submit to our authority. You have 6 hours to comply. If you resist, your planet will be pacified by force. Choose wisely." The message ended. The Krill fleet began moving toward Earth. On the Valiant, Commander Jake Morrison listened to the alien transmission in stunned silence. Around him, his bridge crew sat frozen at their stations. Did that really? The 6-hour deadline passed with no surrender from Earth. Admiral Zekthor expected nothing less from primitives who did not understand their situation. He gave the order to begin the attack. Plasma beams lanced down from orbit. Military bases in North America, Europe, and Asia erupted in flames. The Krill targeted radar installations, missile silos, naval ports, and Air Force bases. The strikes were precise and devastating. Within 30 minutes, Earth's organized military command structure was severely damaged. But damage was not destruction, and humans were very good at adapting to damage. Captain Lisa Chen had been preparing for this moment since the alien message arrived. Her ship, the Defiant, was positioned behind the moon, hidden from direct observation. When the Krill began their attack, she was ready. All ships, this is Chen. Execute dispersal pattern Delta. Do not cluster. Do not make yourselves easy targets. Hit and run. Make them chase you. Her small fleet of 23 ships broke formation. They used the moon as cover, emerging in different locations to fire missiles at the Krill vessels. The missiles were primitive compared to alien plasma weapons, but they were fast and there were many of them. A Krill destroyer took 3 direct hits to its port side. The shields held, but the captain had to adjust position. That moment of distraction allowed 2 more Earth ships to close the distance and fire again. Their shields are strong, Lisa's tactical officer reported. Our missiles are not penetrating. Then we hit them until the shields fail, Lisa replied. All ships, concentrate fire. Pick one target at a time. The space battle became chaotic. The Krill expected organized resistance that they could crush with superior firepower. Instead, they faced dozens of small ships attacking from different angles. It was like trying to swat flies with a hammer. On Earth's surface, the situation was worse. Krill troop transports descended on major cities. New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, and Los Angeles came under direct assault. The aliens deployed ground forces with the expectation of quick surrender. They did not get it. In Los Angeles, police officer Ryan Parker was off duty when the invasion began. He was at home with his family when the news showed alien ships landing downtown. He kissed his wife and children, grabbed his service weapon, and drove toward the fighting. The streets were chaos. People running, buildings burning, and in the middle of it all, Krill soldiers in powered armor marching through downtown. They were tall, perhaps 7 feet, covered in dark scales and carrying energy weapons that could slice through concrete. Ryan took cover behind an overturned bus. Other people were there too. Other police officers, firefighters, regular people with hunting rifles. Nobody had organized them. They just came because they saw their city being attacked. We need to slow them down, Ryan said. Give people time to evacuate. A firefighter named Danny Hughes nodded. The building on 5th Street. The old one they were going to demolish next month. I know where the support columns are. Ryan understood immediately. Can you bring it down? If we can get some explosives in the right spots. Yeah. They did not have military explosives. They had road flares, gasoline, and propane tanks from a nearby hardware store. It was crude and dangerous, but it worked. When the Krill battalion marched down 5th Street, the building collapsed on top of them. Tons of concrete and steel buried dozens of alien soldiers. The survivors were disoriented and confused. Ryan's group attacked with everything they had. Pistols, rifles, Molotov cocktails. The Krill had better weapons and better armor, but they did not expect humans to drop buildings on them. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Tokyo, civilians used the subway system to move unseen through the city, attacking Krill forces and disappearing before reinforcements arrived. In Cairo, resistance fighters lured alien soldiers into narrow streets where their heavy weapons were useless. In Sydney, someone discovered that the Krill's energy shields did not stop slow-moving objects, only fast projectiles. Arrows from hunting bows could pass right through. Humans adapted. Humans learned. And humans absolutely refused to surrender. Admiral Zekthor watched his casualty reports with growing anger. After 48 hours of combat, he had lost 16 ships and over 3,000 ground troops. The humans were supposed to fold after the first attack. Instead, they were fighting harder. Send another message, he ordered. Tell them that continued resistance will result in the destruction of entire cities. The message was broadcast. The human response came 30 minutes later. It was from someone called the Secretary General of the United Nations. The alien translation made it clear and simple. To the Krill Empire and the Galactic Council. We have received your threat. You say you will destroy our cities if we do not surrender. You should know that humans have destroyed our own cities in past wars and rebuilt them. You should know that we have survived ice ages, plagues, famines, and natural disasters that would end most species. You should know that every human alive is descended from ancestors who fought and died to protect their families. You cannot threaten us with destruction. We have lived with that threat our entire existence. This is our world. These are our homes. And we will fight you until the last human falls. The message ended. Admiral Zekthor stared at the screen in disbelief. These primitives were insane. Colonel Kate Morrison organized the evacuation of Atlanta. Military convoys moved civilians out of the city toward designated safe zones in the countryside. It was slow work. The roads were jammed. Fuel was running low. And the Krill were getting closer. She stood at a roadblock with a company of National Guard soldiers. They were tired. Many were injured, but none of them suggested retreat. We hold here for 2 more hours, Kate told them. That gives the last convoy time to clear the city. After that, we fall back to the secondary position. A young soldier, maybe 20 years old, looked at her. Colonel, do you think we can win? Kate was quiet for a moment. Honesty was important now. I think we can make them wish they never came here. The Krill attack on Atlanta began at sunset. Plasma fire lit up the sky. Buildings exploded. The roadblock came under heavy assault. Kate's forces returned fire with everything they had. When a Krill dropship landed 2 blocks away, Kate made a decision. Henderson, take command. Get everyone out. Fall back to secondary. What about you, ma'am? Kate picked up a rocket launcher. I am going to buy you some time. She did not wait for argument. She ran toward the dropship, while her soldiers provided covering fire. The Krill troops were disembarking when she reached effective range. She aimed carefully and fired. The rocket hit the dropship's fuel cell. The explosion destroyed the ship and took out half the Krill squad. Kate dove behind a concrete barrier as return fire tore up the ground where she had been standing. She keyed her radio. Henderson, tell me you are moving. Yes, ma'am. We are out. All personnel evacuated. Good. I will meet you at secondary. Kate ran through the burning streets of Atlanta. Behind her, the Krill forces secured the city. But the city was empty. Every civilian was gone. Every soldier had retreated to fight another day. The Krill had won nothing but ruins. In space, Captain Lisa Chen coordinated with the remains of Earth's orbital defense fleet. She had lost 12 ships in the past 2 days. The survivors were damaged and low on ammunition, but they kept fighting. Captain, we are detecting a large Krill formation, moving toward the European Defense Station, her tactical officer reported. The European Defense Station housed over 5,000 personnel. It was also Earth's primary orbital manufacturing facility. If the Krill destroyed it, humanity's ability to build new ships would be severely limited. How many ships in the formation? Lisa asked. 26, ma'am, including 4 heavy cruisers. Lisa looked at her own fleet. 11 ships, most of them barely functional. The math was not good. Signal all ships. We intercept that formation. Full speed. Ma'am, we cannot win against those odds. Lisa smiled grimly. We do not need to win. We need to slow them down until the station can evacuate. Communications. Tell the station to begin emergency evacuation. They have 1 hour. Her fleet accelerated toward the Krill formation. It was a suicide mission, and everyone knew it. But not a single ship turned back. The battle was brief and brutal. Lisa's ships hit the Krill formation with their remaining missiles, then closed to point-blank range. When the Defiant's weapons were exhausted, Lisa rammed her ship into a Krill heavy cruiser. The impact killed her and most of her crew, but it also crippled the cruiser and broke the Krill formation's attack run. By the time the Krill reorganized and reached the European defense station, it was empty. 5,000 humans had escaped. The station's manufacturing equipment had been sabotaged beyond repair. The Krill could destroy it, but they could not use it. On Mars, Dr. Emma Rodriguez gathered her research team in the command center. "We are cut off," she told them. "The Krill fleet is blockading Earth. We cannot go home, but we can help." She pulled up schematics on the main display. "This station has an experimental fusion drive. The military wanted to test it for future deep space missions. We are going to weaponize it." Her team looked at the plans. It was ambitious and extremely dangerous. "We build a large fusion bomb," Emma explained. "We mount it on a fast unmanned probe. We aim it at the Krill flagship. If we can take out their command ship, it might give Earth a chance. The calculations alone will take weeks," one scientist said. "Then we start now," Emma replied. 2 weeks into the invasion, Earth's situation looked hopeless to any outside observer. Major cities were occupied or destroyed. Millions were dead. The infrastructure that supported modern civilization was collapsing. Food distribution networks had broken down. Power grids were failing. Clean water was becoming scarce, but humanity was not defeated. If anything, the dire situation made them more dangerous. The military commanders who survived the initial attacks formed a distributed command network. They stopped trying to fight a conventional war. Instead, they embraced what they called the Death World Doctrine. If humans evolved on the most hostile planet in the galaxy, they would use that planet as a weapon. Commander Jake Morrison stood in an underground command center somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. His carrier group was gone, destroyed in the early orbital battles. But he was alive, and he was still fighting. "The Krill think they understand warfare," he told his staff. "They learn to fight. In the calm of space. Clean battles. Clear lines. But we learned to fight on Earth. We grew up in hurricanes, earthquakes, and blizzards. We know how to use our environment. So, that is what we will do." He pulled up a weather map on the main display. A massive hurricane was forming in the Atlantic Ocean. Category 5. Wind speeds over 170 miles per hour. 6 Krill ships are patrolling the eastern seaboard, Jake continued. They maintain a predictable pattern. If we can lure them into the hurricane, their shields and weapons mean nothing against nature. His executive officer looked doubtful. "How do we lure them? We make them chase us. We send out what is left of our Atlantic fleet. We fire on their positions. When they pursue, we lead them straight into the storm." It was a desperate plan. It would cost human ships and lives, but doing nothing would cost more. The operation began at dawn. 3 damaged Earth destroyers emerged from hiding and fired missiles at the Krill patrol. The aliens responded exactly as predicted. They gave chase. The human ships ran toward the hurricane. The Krill followed, confident in their superior speed. They did not understand what they were flying into until it was too late. The hurricane's winds tore at both fleets. The human ships, designed for Earth's violent weather, could handle it. The Krill vessels, built for space combat, could not. Their shields protected them from weapons, but not from sustained wind and massive waves. One by one, the alien ships were battered and damaged. 3 were forced down into the ocean. 2 retreated. 1 was destroyed when it crashed into the sea. The human ships survived. They lost 1 destroyer, but they eliminated 6 enemy vessels using nothing but weather. Word of the tactic spread through Earth's resistance networks. If the environment could be a weapon, humans would use it everywhere. In the Amazon rainforest, resistance fighters led by Chris Santos discovered something important. The Krill soldiers were vulnerable to Earth's diseases, The aliens had powerful technology and strong armor, but their immune systems had never encountered Earth's bacteria, viruses, and parasites. A krill patrol that entered the jungle came back infected. Within days, half of them were dead. The aliens had no immunity to mosquito-borne illnesses. They had no resistance to fungal infections. Even simple cuts from jungle plants led to deadly infections. Chris and his fighters did not even need to attack directly. They just led the krill into the deepest parts of the jungle and let Earth's biosphere do the work. Dr. Amy Foster worked in what was left of a medical research facility in Atlanta. Before the invasion, she studied infectious diseases. Now she studied krill biology from captured equipment and dead alien soldiers. Their cellular structure is different from ours, she explained to her team. But proteins are still proteins. Enzymes are still enzymes. I think we can engineer something that targets their physiology specifically. It was biological warfare. It was desperate and dangerous. But Amy's team was fighting for survival. They developed several agents designed to attack krill biology while leaving humans unharmed. The weapons were crude and took time to work, but they were effective. Resistance cells across Earth received samples. They deployed the bioweapons in occupied cities. Krill troops began falling ill with mysterious symptoms. Their medical officers could not understand what was happening. Some garrisons had to be evacuated entirely. Admiral Zekthor raged at his officers. How is this possible? We have the best technology in the galaxy. They have primitive weapons and ancient tactics. Yet we are losing soldiers every day, a tactical officer tried to explain. Sir, the problem is not their weapons. It is their planet. The environment itself is hostile. Our troops cannot survive prolonged exposure. The gravity is exhausting. The diseases are lethal. The weather is unpredictable and violent. Then we will remain in orbit and bombard them until they surrender, Zekthor declared. But orbital bombardment had limited effectiveness. Humans scattered. They hid underground. They kept moving. And they kept fighting back. High above Earth, the space battle continued. With Captain Lisa Chen dead, command fell to other officers. They learned from her tactics. They studied the krill patterns. They discovered that the aliens fought the same way every time. Predictable. By the book. Humans started fighting unpredictably. Kamikaze runs, false retreats, ambushes using asteroid fields for cover. The krill had better ships. But human pilots were willing to take risks that no sane alien would consider. Lieutenant Alex Turner flew his fighter on what should have been his final mission. His ship was damaged, his fuel was low, and he was facing 3 krill interceptors. By all logic, he should eject and surrender. Instead, he shut down his engines and let his ship drift. The krill assumed he was disabled. They moved closer to confirm the kill. When they were in range, Alex restarted his engines at full power and fired every missile he had at point-blank range. His ship and 2 of the krill fighters exploded. The third fled. Alex somehow survived. He ejected just before the explosion. A rescue shuttle picked him up 3 hours later. When he returned to base, other pilots wanted to know his secret. No secret, he said. I just did not want to die without taking some of them with me. That attitude spread. Humans fought like cornered animals. Because that is exactly what they were. In the asteroid belt, Ben Taylor watched the war from a distance. His mining crew wanted to help Earth, but they were civilians with industrial equipment. What could they do? Then other civilian ships started arriving. Cargo haulers, transport vessels, even a few tourist yachts. Thousands of humans who worked in space refused to hide while their homeworld burned. Ben organized them. We cannot fight their warships directly, but we can hit their supply lines. They have to bring fuel and ammunition from somewhere. We find those supply ships and we destroy them. His fleet of civilian vessels became guerrilla fighters. They used mining charges as improvised torpedoes. They redirected small asteroids into the paths of krill supply convoys. They operated in the outer system, where the main Krill fleet rarely patrolled. One night, Ben's ship intercepted a Krill supply vessel. It was lightly armed, designed for cargo, not combat. Ben's crew attached mining charges to its hull and then retreated. The explosion destroyed the supply ship and its cargo of weapons and fuel meant for the troops on Earth. "That is for Earth," Ben whispered as he watched the explosion. On Mars, Dr. Emma Rodriguez and her team worked around the clock. Their weapon, Project Hammer, was taking shape. It was essentially a massive fusion bomb mounted on the fastest probe they could build. The calculations were complex. The construction was dangerous. But they were making progress. "We get one shot at this," Emma told her engineers. "If we miss, or if the weapon fails, we will not get another chance. It has to be perfect." They tested and retested every component. They ran simulations hundreds of times. They knew that thousands of people on Earth were dying every day. The pressure was enormous. The Galactic Council watched the Earth situation with growing concern. What was supposed to be a quick conquest had turned into a bloody war. Many council members began questioning the original vote. A young counselor from the Thalen species named Kieran spoke during a session. "We authorized a quick integration. We did not authorize genocide. The Krill are destroying an entire civilization." The Krill ambassador responded coldly. "We are doing exactly what we were authorized to do. The humans refuse to surrender. They leave us no choice." "There is always a choice," Kieran insisted. "We can order a ceasefire. We can negotiate." "Negotiate?" The Krill ambassador laughed. "With primitives who attack us with their planet's weather and diseases. With warriors who sacrifice themselves in suicide attacks. There can be no negotiation. Only victory or retreat. And the Krill Empire does not retreat." Kieran began secretly broadcasting the human resistance to other worlds. She violated council protocols, but she believed the galaxy needed to see what was happening. She showed footage of human fighters defending their cities. She shared recordings of human messages, refusing surrender even when faced with annihilation. The broadcasts spread across dozens of worlds. Many species who had voted for the invasion began to have doubts. These humans were not primitive monsters. They were a young species defending their home with remarkable courage. But doubts did not stop the war. The Krill Empire had committed its forces. Backing down would show weakness. So, they escalated. Admiral Zekthor received new orders from the Krill High Command. If conventional warfare was not working fast enough, they would use their ultimate weapon. The Krill possessed a device called a planet cracker. It could shatter a world's crust and make it uninhabitable. The orders were clear. Give the humans 72 hours to surrender. If they refused, activate the planet cracker. Earth would be destroyed as an example to any other species that might resist the Krill Empire. Zekthor sent the ultimatum to Earth. Surrender in 72 hours, or watch your world die. Commander Jake Morrison received the message in his mountain bunker. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood. They were not bluffing. The Krill were going to destroy Earth. He called an emergency conference. News of the planet cracker spread across Earth within hours. Every television, every radio, every surviving internet connection carried the message. In 72 hours, the Krill would destroy the planet. There would be no escape, no survival. The end of humanity. The reaction was not panic. It was cold determination. Factory workers across the world refused to leave their posts. If they had 3 days left, they would spend those days building weapons. Car factories converted to produce missiles. Chemical plants manufactured explosives. Every engineer and technician pushed themselves beyond exhaustion. In Detroit, factory manager Steve Warren watched his workers building rockets with parts meant for automobiles. Someone suggested they should evacuate, spend their final days with family. Steve shook his head. "My family is here. My friends are here. Every human on Earth is my family now. We do not run. We fight. When the Krill come to destroy our world, we make them pay for every second. His workers agreed. They kept building. The assembly lines never stopped. Commander Jake Morrison coordinated with every surviving military force. A plan formed. It was desperate. The chance of success was minimal. But doing nothing guaranteed failure. We concentrate everything we have left, Jake explained to his commanders. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier. One massive assault on the Krill flagship. If we can destroy the planet cracker before it activates, Earth survives. And if we fail? Someone asked. Then we fail fighting. But at least the galaxy will remember that humanity did not go quietly. The plan required perfect timing. Ground forces would attack Krill positions simultaneously across every continent. The goal was to create chaos and divide the enemy's attention. While the Krill dealt with ground attacks, the human fleet would strike from orbit. It was a gamble with the survival of the species as stakes. Colonel Kate Morrison organized resistance cells from around the world. She had commanders from every nation on secure communications. They spoke different languages and came from different cultures. But they were united now. We attack at dawn in your local time zones, Kate instructed. Hit every Krill position you can reach. Make noise. Make them think we are launching a full-scale ground offensive. Keep them looking down, not up. In Tokyo, a cell leader named Kenji Sato gathered his fighters. In Cairo, Ahmed Hassan prepared his resistance group. In Sao Paulo, Maria Gomez checked her weapons. Across the globe, humans made ready for their final battle. Ryan Parker stood with his group in the ruins of Los Angeles. They had been fighting for weeks. Most of the original group was dead. But new people kept joining. As long as there were humans alive, there was resistance. Tomorrow we hit the Krill garrison downtown, Ryan told them. We probably will not survive, but we will kill as many of them as we can. We will show them that humans do not surrender. A teenager in the group, maybe 16 years old, raised his hand. Why are we doing this if the planet is going to be destroyed anyway? Ryan looked at the kid. Because maybe we stop them. Maybe we buy enough time for someone to destroy that weapon. Maybe we fail and die. But we go down fighting. That is what humans do. High above Earth, the remaining ships gathered. It was a pathetic fleet compared to what humanity started with. Damaged vessels held together with emergency repairs. Civilian ships, armed with improvised weapons. Pilots who knew they were flying to their deaths. Lieutenant Alex Turner checked his fighter's systems. Everything was red or yellow on his diagnostic screen. The ship should not even be able to fly. But it did. Humans were good at making broken things work. This is Turner to all fighter wings, he broadcast. We are probably going to die today, but we are going to hurt them first. Stay tight. Cover each other. And if your ship goes down, take one of theirs with you. The response from dozens of pilots was simple. Copy that. Copy that. In the asteroid belt, Ben Taylor's civilian fleet prepared to join the battle. His mining ships and cargo haulers were not designed for combat, but they were crewed by people who refused to hide. We hit the Krill rear guard, Ben instructed his fleet. They will not expect civilian ships to attack. We only get one pass, so make it count. Load every mining charge we have. Ram them if you have to. But we hurt them. His second in command, a cargo pilot named Megan Cruz, checked her ship's cargo bay. It was filled with mining explosives and fuel cells. If she triggered it all at once, the explosion would be massive. If I am going to die, she said quietly, I am taking a Krill ship with me. On Mars, Dr. Emma Rodriguez put the final touches on Project Hammer. The weapon was ready. It was crude and dangerous. There was a 50-50 chance it would explode during launch. But it was the best they could do. She programmed the targeting computer carefully. The weapon would travel for 48 hours before reaching the Krill flagship. It had to survive the journey. It had to penetrate the flagship's shields. And it had to detonate at exactly the right moment. Too many variables. Too many ways to fail. But it was humanity's best chance. Emma initiated the launch sequence. The weapon accelerated away from Mars, heading toward Earth and the Krill fleet. She watched it disappear on her monitors. "Please work," she whispered. "Please." The 72 hours ticked down. Across Earth, people spent their final day in different ways. Some were with family. Some were fighting. Some were working to the last moment. In a small town in Montana, families gathered in a church. The pastor spoke about courage and sacrifice, about standing up for what was right, even when the odds were impossible. In Mumbai, engineers worked on a new missile design they would never see completed, but they worked anyway, because that is what humans did. In Sydney, children played in the streets while their parents stood guard. There was no point hiding anymore. If the world was going to end, let the children play. The dawn came. Across every continent, human resistance forces attacked simultaneously. Thousands of fighters emerged from hiding and struck at Krill positions. Bombs exploded. Gunfire erupted. The planet erupted in coordinated violence. Colonel Kate Morrison led an assault on a Krill command center in the ruins of Washington, D.C. Her team fought through alien defenders with a fury born of desperation. They knew most of them would die, but every Krill soldier they killed was one less enemy. In Tokyo, Kenji Sato's group overran a Krill supply depot. In Cairo, Ahmed Hassan's fighters destroyed alien communications equipment. In São Paulo, Maria Gomez led a successful ambush on a Krill patrol. The attacks did exactly what they were meant to do. They created chaos. The Krill ground forces called for support. The alien commanders focused their attention on the planet below. They stopped looking up. That was their mistake. Commander Jake Morrison gave the order. All ships, advance. Attack pattern Omega. Target the flagship. The human fleet emerged from behind the moon. Every functional ship humanity had left accelerated toward the Krill Armada. It was not a large fleet. Maybe 200 ships total. Against the Krill's remaining forces of over 250 warships, the humans were hopelessly outnumbered. But they attacked anyway. The space battle was immediate and brutal. Krill plasma cannons tore through human shields. Ships exploded. Pilots died. But the human fleet kept coming. Lieutenant Alex Turner led his fighter wing straight into the teeth of the Krill defenses. His squadron took horrific casualties, but they created an opening for the larger ships behind them. A Krill cruiser destroyed Alex's wingman. He saw the explosion in his peripheral vision. He did not slow down. He locked onto the cruiser and fired everything he had. His missiles struck the cruiser's bridge. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. Alex flew through the debris, already looking for his next target. Ben Taylor's civilian fleet hit the Krill rear guard exactly as planned. Mining ships, armed with explosives, crashed into alien vessels. Cargo haulers detonated their fuel cells next to enemy destroyers. Megan Cruz piloted her ship directly at a Krill battleship. She armed every explosive in her cargo bay. The Krill tried to shoot her down, but she was too close and moving too fast. "For Earth," she said calmly. Then she triggered the detonation. The explosion destroyed her ship and severely damaged the battleship. The alien vessel listed to one side. Engines failing. Hull breached in multiple places. Commander Jake Morrison watched his fleet being systematically destroyed. They were losing. The human ships could not match Krill firepower, but they were getting closer to the flagship. They were creating chaos in the enemy formation. He activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, this is Morrison. We are not going to make it, but we are going to give Mars a chance. Concentrate all fire on the flagship's shields. We need to create an opening, even for just a few seconds." Every surviving human ship turned toward the Krill flagship. They poured everything they had into its shields: missiles, railgun rounds, even laser weapons that were nearly useless against Krill technology. The flagship's shields began to flicker under the sustained assault. Just a little. Just for a moment. And then, Project Hammer arrived. Dr. Emma Rodriguez's weapon, launched from Mars days earlier, entered the battle space at exactly the right moment. Emma had timed it perfectly. The crude fusion bomb traveled toward the Krill flagship, but the shields were still up. The weapon could not penetrate. Emma, watching from Mars, felt her heart sink. They had failed. Then Commander Jake Morrison saw what was needed. He looked at his own ship. The engines were failing. The weapons were empty. But the ship could still move. He dismissed his crew, ordered them to the escape pods. Most refused to go. He had to make it a direct order. Finally, they obeyed. The crew evacuated. Jake sat alone on the bridge of his ship. He aimed at the Krill flagship's shields, right where they were flickering. He engaged full thrust with the failing engines. The explosion was visible from Earth. A new star appeared in the sky for several seconds, before fading. The Krill flagship, a Getting Gunnan Dodd, a Getting Secondtap Sedent, Admiral Zek Thor, and the Planet Cracker weapon ceased to exist. The blast wave damaged dozens of surrounding Krill vessels. On Mars, Dr. Emma Rodriguez watched the readings on her screen. The weapon had worked. Commander Jake Morrison's sacrifice had worked. The Planet Cracker was destroyed. She sat down heavily in her chair. Around her, the research team celebrated. But Emma could only think about all the people who had died to make this moment possible. Captain Lisa Chen, Commander Jake Morrison, thousands of others whose names she would never know. They had saved Earth. But the cost was almost unbearable. In orbit around Earth, the surviving human ships floated in the debris field. Lieutenant Alex Turner's fighter was barely functional. One engine was dead. Life support was failing. But he was alive. All ships, report status, he heard on the command channel. It was a voice he did not recognize. Most of the command staff was dead. Turner here. Fighter wing is down to 12% strength. We are alive. Other ships reported in. The numbers were grim. Out of 200 ships that attacked, fewer than 30 survived. And most of those were severely damaged. But they had won. The flagship was destroyed. The Planet Cracker was gone. Earth was saved. The remaining Krill fleet fell into chaos. Without Admiral Zek Thor, there was no clear chain of command. Different captains had different ideas about what to do next. Some wanted to continue the attack. Others wanted to retreat and regroup. The Krill fleet, which had operated with such precision before, became disorganized. On Earth, Colonel Kate Morrison heard the news in the middle of a firefight. The Krill flagship was destroyed. The Planet Cracker was gone. For a moment, she could not process it. They had actually done it. Against impossible odds, humanity had survived. All units, press the attack, she ordered. The Krill are confused. We hit them now while they are disorganized. Across the globe, human resistance forces renewed their assaults. In Tokyo, Kenji Sato's team overran a Krill strongpoint that had held for weeks. In Cairo, Ahmed Hassan watched alien troops retreat in disarray. In Los Angeles, Ryan Parker led a charge that reclaimed 3 city blocks. The Krill ground forces, already demoralized by weeks of fighting against an enemy that refused to stay dead, began to crack. Without clear orders from orbit, without certainty that reinforcements would arrive, they started to retreat. Some Krill units tried to evacuate to their ships. Human forces harried them every step of the way. Other Krill soldiers fortified positions and fought to the end. But the momentum had shifted. The aliens were no longer the confident conquerors who arrived weeks ago. They were soldiers trapped on a hostile world, facing an enemy they finally understood was more dangerous than they had ever imagined. In space, the Krill fleet continued to debate. A Krill captain named Zelkoth took temporary command. He reviewed the casualty reports. They had lost over 100 ships, tens of thousands of troops. their flagship, and their most powerful weapon. And the humans were still fighting. Zelkoth made a decision that would have been unthinkable weeks earlier. He ordered a retreat. All Krill forces, this is Captain Zelkoth, assuming fleet command. Begin immediate withdrawal. Recall all ground troops. Prepare for jump to hyperspace. The invasion of Earth is over. The message reached Krill forces across the planet. Some units obeyed immediately, grateful for permission to leave this nightmare world. Others refused to retreat, seeing it as cowardice. Those units were abandoned as the main Krill fleet began pulling back. Human forces watched in stunned disbelief as Krill ships started leaving orbit. Dropships descended to pick up ground forces and then accelerated toward the fleet. Within 6 hours, most of the Krill presence was gone. The remaining alien forces, those who refused to retreat or were cut off from evacuation, continued fighting. But they were isolated and outnumbered. Over the next week, human forces methodically cleared them out. Colonel Kate Morrison led the final assault on the last Krill stronghold in North America. It was a fortified position in the mountains where 200 alien soldiers had dug in. They fought fiercely, but they were surrounded and had no hope of escape or reinforcement. When the position finally fell, Kate walked among the Krill bodies. She felt no joy, just exhaustion and relief that it was finally over. Far away, the Krill fleet jumped to hyperspace. They left the solar system and headed back toward their empire. It was the first time in Krill history that they had been forced to retreat from a primitive species. Captain Zelkoth sent his report to the Krill High Command. It was detailed and honest. He described the human tactics, their refusal to surrender, their willingness to sacrifice themselves, their ability to use their hostile planet as a weapon. He concluded with a simple statement: Earth cannot be conquered by conventional means. The cost would destroy our empire. I recommend we abandon all plans regarding the human homeworld. The report reached the Galactic Council within days. Along with it came thousands of hours of footage that Kieran had broadcast. Images of human resistance, recordings of human defiance, evidence of a species that fought with such ferocity that they defeated one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces. The Council convened an emergency session. The chamber was tense. The Krill ambassador tried to argue that retreat was temporary, that a larger force could still pacify Earth. But other species were no longer listening. We authorized a quick integration, one ambassador said. Not a war of extermination. Not the use of a planet cracker. The humans exceeded all expectations, another added. They deserve our respect, not our conquest. The debate continued for days. But the conclusion was inevitable. The invasion of Earth had been a disaster. The Krill Empire was humiliated. The Council's reputation was damaged, and humanity had proven they were not primitives to be conquered, but warriors to be feared. A formal vote was called. Should the invasion be officially declared ended? Should humanity be approached peacefully? Should they be offered a place in the galactic community? The vote was unanimous. The invasion was over. Earth would be left alone, and humanity would be invited to join the Galactic Council as equals. On Earth, the news arrived through the same communication channels the Krill had used for their ultimatum. But this message was very different. It was from the Galactic Council. It apologized for the invasion. It declared the war over. And it invited humanity to send representatives to the Council. The message played on every surviving screen, every radio, every communication device. People gathered in the streets to hear it. When it ended, there was silence. Then someone started cheering. Then everyone was cheering. They had won. Against impossible odds, with primitive technology, outnumbered and outgunned, humanity had defeated an alien empire and earned their place among the stars. But the celebration was muted by grief. The cost of victory was staggering. Billions were dead. Major cities were destroyed. The infrastructure of modern civilization was shattered. It would take decades to rebuild. In the ruins of Washington, D.C., Colonel Kate Morrison stood at a memorial being erected for the fallen. Names were being carved into a massive wall. So many names. Friends, comrades, heroes whose sacrifice saved the world. She touched the wall gently. "We won," she whispered. "We actually won." Lieutenant Alex Turner visited the wreckage of Commander Jake Morrison's ship, which had been recovered from orbit. The ship was twisted metal, barely recognizable, but it had done its job. It had created the opening that saved Earth. "Thank you, sir," Alex said quietly. "We will not forget." On Mars, Dr. Emma Rodriguez prepared to return to Earth. Her team had done the impossible. They had built a weapon that destroyed the Krill flagship. She thought about all the scientists, engineers, and technicians who had worked themselves to exhaustion to make it happen. "We did it," she told her team. "We saved our world. Now let us go home and help rebuild it." In the asteroid belt, Ben Taylor guided his mining ship back toward Earth. Half his crew was gone. His ship was damaged beyond repair, but he was going home. As Earth appeared in his viewport, blue and grey 6 months after the war ended, Earth was still recovering. The physical damage was immense. Entire cities needed to be rebuilt. Agricultural systems had collapsed in many regions. Power grids remained unstable. But slowly, steadily, humanity was healing. Colonel Kate Morrison walked through what used to be downtown Atlanta. Construction crews worked around the clock. New buildings rose from the ruins of the old. The sound of hammers and welding torches filled the air. It was a sound of hope. She stopped at a memorial park that had been built in the center of the city. Names covered black stone walls. Thousands of names. Millions across the world. Every person who died, defending Earth. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, stood in front of one section of the wall. Her hand touched a name carved into the stone. Kate walked over quietly. "Is that your family?" Kate asked gently. The girl nodded. "My dad. He was a firefighter. He fought the aliens when they came." Kate knelt down next to her. "What was his name?" "Danny Hughes." Kate remembered that name from the reports. A firefighter who helped collapse a building on Krill forces in the early days of the invasion. "A hero. Your father was very brave," Kate said. "He saved a lot of people." The girl looked at her with serious eyes. "Are the aliens going to come back?" It was a question many people asked. Kate could give the official answer about treaties and galactic law. But she chose honesty instead. "I do not know," Kate admitted. "Maybe someday. But if they do, we will be ready. Your father and everyone else taught us how to fight. We will not be caught by surprise again." The girl seemed satisfied with that answer. She touched her father's name one more time, then walked away with her mother, who had been waiting nearby. Kate stood up and looked at the wall of names. They had won the war, but at such a terrible cost. She hoped they would never have to pay such a price again. High above Earth, construction crews worked on a new generation of orbital defense platforms. These were not the primitive satellites from before the war. Earth's engineers had studied captured Krill technology. They had learned from alien designs while incorporating human ingenuity. Lieutenant Alex Turner, now promoted to captain, supervised the construction of a new fighter wing. The ships combined human maneuverability with improved weapons and shields adapted from Krill systems. They were faster, stronger, and more lethal than anything Earth had before. "We are building an actual space fleet," his second-in-command said with something like wonder in her voice. Alex nodded. "We have to. The galaxy knows about us now. Some species will be friends. Others might see us as a threat. We need to be able to defend ourselves." The work continued across the solar system. On Mars, new facilities were being built. Not just research stations, but permanent colonies. Humanity was expanding beyond Earth, spreading through their star system like they had once spread across their planet. Dr. Emma Rodriguez oversaw the construction of a new laboratory complex on Mars. Her work during the war had made her famous. She could have taken any position on Earth, but she chose to stay on Mars and continue pushing the boundaries of human science. "We learned so much from the krill technology," she told her team. "Energy shields, plasma weapons, faster-than-light communication. We are decades ahead of where we would have been, but we still have a long way to go." Her team was working on humanity's first faster-than-light drive. It was based on principles they learned from studying captured krill ships. But the engineering was incredibly complex. Emma estimated it would take at least 5 years before they could build a working prototype. 5 years is nothing, she said. The galaxy waited thousands of years for humans. They can wait 5 more. In the asteroid belt, Ben Taylor had rebuilt his mining operation. But now, it was much larger. The war had shown the importance of resources from space. Governments and corporations were investing heavily in asteroid mining. Ben's small company had grown into one of the largest operations in the belt. He stood on the observation deck of his new flagship, looking at Earth in the distance, a beautiful blue marble against the black of space. "We almost lost it," he said to his first officer. If Commander Morrison had not made that opening, if Dr. Rodriguez's weapon had failed, if any of 1,000 things had gone differently, Earth would be gone. His first officer, Megan Cruz's sister, nodded. She had lost family in the war. Everyone had. But we did not lose it. We fought, and we won. Ben smiled slightly. That we did. And now, we make sure it never happens again. We build up our defenses. We spread across the system. We prepare for whatever comes next. On Earth, the United Nations had transformed into something new. The Earth Defense Council. It coordinated military forces, space exploration, and diplomatic relations with alien species. Every nation on Earth had a voice. The war had united humanity in ways that centuries of peace never had. The Council's first major decision was about the Galactic Council's invitation. Should humanity send representatives? Should they join the larger galactic community? Or should they remain isolated, building their strength alone? The debate was intense. Some argued that isolation was safer. Others insisted that humanity needed allies and trading partners. The discussion continued for months. Finally, a vote was called. The decision was clear. Humanity would join the Galactic Council. They would send representatives. They would participate in galactic politics and trade, but they would never lower their guard. They would remain strong and ready to defend themselves. The day arrived when Earth's first diplomatic ship would travel to the Council station. It was a new vessel, built using both human and adapted alien technology. The ship was called the Ambassador, and it carried a delegation of representatives from across Earth. Colonel Kate Morrison was chosen as the military representative. She stood on the bridge of the Ambassador, watching Earth recede in the viewport as they accelerated toward the hyperspace jump point. "Are you nervous?" asked the civilian delegation leader, a diplomat named Peter Chang. Kate considered the question. "Nervous? No. Cautious? Yes. We are walking into a room full of species who voted to destroy us. Some of them might still see us as a threat. Others might want revenge for the krill losses. We need to be smart and careful." Peter nodded. "But we also need to be confident. We earned our place through blood and sacrifice. We have nothing to apologize for." The Ambassador made the jump to hyperspace. For the first time in human history, a human ship traveled faster than light. The journey to the Council station took 3 days. When they arrived, the sight took Kate's breath away. The station was massive, easily 10 times larger than anything humanity had ever built. It orbited a neutral world, a beautiful planet with purple oceans and green continents. Hundreds of alien ships docked at the station. Different designs, different sizes, representing dozens of species. Kate studied them carefully, noting weapons systems and defensive capabilities. Old habits from the war. The Ambassador docked. The human delegation prepared to disembark. Kate checked her sidearm out of habit. Even though weapons were not allowed in the council chamber, she felt naked without it but followed the rules. They walked through the station corridors. Aliens of every description moved around them. Some looked similar to humans. Others were so alien that Kate struggled to identify basic features. She kept her expression neutral and professional. The council chamber was as impressive as the reports had described. The same room, where the vote to invade Earth had been held. Kate looked around at the assembled representatives and wondered which ones had voted for her world's destruction. The human delegation was given seats in the outer ring. Junior members. They had been invited to join, but had not yet proven themselves in galactic politics. That would come, with time. The session began. Various matters of galactic importance were discussed. Trade disputes, border agreements, scientific collaborations. The humans listened and learned. Then came the formal recognition. The council chairperson, a being from the Lorith species, addressed the chamber. We recognize the delegation from Earth. The human species is hereby granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council. They will have observer status for 1 galactic cycle, after which full membership will be considered. It was diplomatic language, but Kate understood the meaning. Humanity was on probation. The Council was not ready to fully trust them yet. That was fine. Humans were not ready to fully trust the Council either. Peter Chang was given permission to speak. He stood and addressed the chamber. His speech was brief and measured. On behalf of humanity, we accept this membership. We come here not seeking conflict, but seeking cooperation. We have seen what war costs. We have no desire to see it again. But we will not be victims. We will defend ourselves and our allies. We offer friendship to those who offer it to us. And we warn those who might threaten us to remember what happened to the Krill fleet. The chamber was silent after his words. Some species seemed offended by the warning. Others nodded in respect. Kate saw a young alien in the Thalen delegation, a female named Kieran, according to the briefing, who smiled slightly. That was the one who had broadcast human resistance during the war. An ally, perhaps. After the session, various species approached the human delegation. Some offered genuine welcome. Others were clearly sizing them up, looking for weaknesses. Kate remained alert, watching for threats even in this diplomatic setting. The Thalen counselor, Kieran, approached them. "I am glad you came," she said through her translator. "Your resistance during the war inspired many species. You showed us that courage and determination can overcome superior technology." Kate shook her hand, or the Thalen equivalent. "Thank you for broadcasting our fight. The galaxy needed to see what was happening. I broke council protocols to do it," Kieran admitted. "But some rules need to be broken. I believe humanity will be good for the council. You bring a perspective we have lacked. Most species here evolved on comfortable worlds. You evolved in fire and struggle. That makes you different, valuable." Over the following weeks, the human delegation met with representatives from dozens of species. They negotiated trade agreements. They discussed technology exchanges. They learned about galactic politics and culture. Kate attended military briefings with other species defense representatives. She was careful about sharing information, but she also listened and learned. She discovered that most galactic species had small militaries focused on police actions and border defense. Large-scale warfare was rare. The last major war ended 2,000 years ago, a Vrelnathi military officer explained. Since then, conflicts are usually resolved through council mediation. The Krill were an exception. They had a strong military tradition, but even they limited their actions to council-authorized operations. "Until Earth," Kate said. The Vrelnathi officer looked uncomfortable. "Yes, until Earth. The Krill believed their technology made them invincible. You taught them otherwise." Kate leaned forward. "What is the Krill Empire's status now? Are they still a threat?" "Krill Empires. They are rebuilding their reputation. The failed invasion damaged their standing in the galaxy. Many species no longer trust them. They have pulled back from council activities. It will be generations before they regain their former influence. That was good news. But Kate knew humanity could not rely on the Krill staying quiet. They needed to be ready. Ready. The human delegation returned to Earth after 3 months. They brought trade agreements, technology exchanges, and a wealth of information about galactic society. They also brought warnings about potential threats and advice about navigating galactic politics. Kate delivered her military report to the Earth Defense Council. The galaxy is more complex than we realized. There are multiple power blocks. Various species have their own interests and agendas. We cannot trust everyone. But we also have potential allies. The Thalen, in particular, seem friendly. Some others respect what we accomplished. The Council reviewed her report and the diplomatic findings. They made decisions about Earth's future direction. Expand the space fleet. Establish more colonies. Pursue faster-than-light technology aggressively. Build alliances with friendly species. And never, ever, let their guard down. 1 year after the war ended, Earth held a day of remembrance. Every city, every town, every settlement across the globe stopped to honor the fallen. The names of the dead were read aloud. Stories of heroism were shared. And humanity renewed their commitment to never forget the price of freedom. Colonel Kate Morrison stood at the memorial in Atlanta, the same place where she had met the young girl months before. This time, thousands of people filled the park. Veterans, families of the fallen, citizens who survived the occupation, everyone who had lived through the war. The ceremony was simple. No grand speeches, just the reading of names and a moment of silence. When it ended, Kate walked among the crowds. She saw people crying. She saw people comforting each other. She saw determination in their eyes. A reporter approached her. "Colonel Morrison, as a veteran of the war, what do you think about humanity joining the galactic community?" Kate considered her answer carefully. "I think it is necessary. We cannot hide on our planet anymore. The galaxy knows we exist. We need allies, trade, and knowledge. But we also need to stay strong. The war taught us that the universe is dangerous. Some species will be friends, others will be threats. We need to be ready for both." "So, do you think we will face another invasion?" "I hope not. But if we do, we will be ready. We know how to fight now. We know how to survive. And most importantly, we know we are not alone. Every human on this planet proved they would fight to protect our world. That will never change." The interview ended. Kate walked back to the memorial wall. She found the name she was looking for. Commander Jake Morrison. No relation. Despite the same last name, but a hero who saved the world with his sacrifice. She saluted the wall. Then she turned and walked away. There was work to do, ships to build, defenses to strengthen, a future to protect. Above Earth, the ambassador prepared for another mission to the council station. Below, construction continued on new cities. On Mars, colonists arrived to build permanent homes. In the asteroid belt, mining operations expanded. And in secret military facilities, scientists worked on new weapons and defenses. Humanity had survived their first encounter with the galaxy. They had earned their place among the stars through blood and courage. Now they would prove they deserved to keep it. They would be builders and explorers and scientists. But they would also be warriors, ready to defend their home and their future against any threat. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Never underestimate a species from a death world. Never assume that primitive technology means a weak enemy. Never vote to invade Earth. Humanity looked to the stars with hope and caution. Ready for friendship, but prepared for war. United, in a way they had never been before, and determined to ensure that the sacrifice of millions would never be forgotten or wasted. The story of Earth's invasion would be told across the galaxy for generations. A warning to aggressors, an inspiration to the oppressed, and a testament to the strength of a species that refused to surrender even when facing impossible odds. Humanity had joined the galactic community, and the galaxy would never be the same. And beautiful, he allowed himself a small smile. "We are still here," he said. "They tried to destroy us, and we are still here." Across the planet, humans began the long process of rebuilding. Clearing rubble, restoring power, planting crops, caring for the wounded, burying the dead. It was hard work that would take years, but humans were good at rebuilding. They had done it before, they would do it again, and now they knew something important. They were not alone in the universe. There were other species out there. Some would be friends, some might be enemies, but humanity had proven they could defend themselves. They had shown the galaxy what happened when you attacked a Deathworld species. The war was over. The rebuilding was beginning. And humanity's journey to the stars was just starting. "Emma," he broadcast toward Mars, "I am making you an opening. Make it count." His ship accelerated. Plasma fire tore through his hull. His shields failed. But he kept going. He crashed directly into the Krill flagship's shield emitter. The impact destroyed his ship and killed him instantly. But for 3 seconds, it created a gap in the shields. Project Hammer slipped through that gap and struck the Krill flagship's hull. The fusion bomb detonated with the force of a small star. Every remaining military commander. The conversation was brief. "Do we surrender?" someone asked. The answer was unanimous. No. If these were humanity's final days, they would fight to the end. Jake composed a response to the Krill ultimatum. It was simple and direct. You wanted to see what a Deathworld species can do. Now you will learn. We will not surrender. We will not submit. Come and try to break us. We will show you why invading Earth was the worst mistake your empire ever made. The message was sent. The countdown began. Humanity had 72 hours to live. Across the solar system, humans fought. They lost battles but won time. They sacrificed ships but saved lives. They retreated from cities but destroyed everything they left behind. Admiral Zekthor sent his casualty report back to the Krill homeworld. 23 ships lost, 8,000 troops dead, multiple ground assaults repelled, and the humans showed no signs of surrender. The response from the Krill High Command was clear. Victory must be achieved. Send reinforcements. Escalate the assault. End this embarrassment. Just happen? His executive officer whispered. Jake looked at the radar screen. Hundreds of contacts were moving toward Earth. The distance was closing. He activated the ship-wide intercom. All hands. This is the commander. I am not going to lie to you. We are facing an enemy we do not understand, with technology we cannot match. But that does not matter. What matters is that someone just threatened our home. They threatened our families. They threatened every person on Earth. So, we are going to do what humans do best. We are going to fight. Battle stations. This is not a drill. Across Earth, similar scenes played out. Military forces mobilized. Governments convened emergency sessions. Scientists tried to understand what they were facing. Regular people looked up at the sky and wondered what was coming. The 6 hours ticked down. The Krill fleet kept coming, and humanity prepared to meet them.